In this plaza, jacaranda trees nestle among adobe structures. A man sits in the shade of the largest one, plucking notes on his guitar. The melody is mournful. In the song, a man bids a tearful farewell to his wife and son.
You been in California long? It's been a few years for me, but they still call me Okie. I came west when our farm stopped growing anything but a crop of dust. But when we got here, there were so many others here before us. Maybe you've got less need behind you. I hope so, for your sake. I've had a hard day. Do you know any hopeful stories to cheer me up? That's a good one. I'll try to remember it when I'm out in the fields. Joy. Oh, when we first heard they were looking for workers in California. That was joy. We thought we'd get here and have our own home right away. And no dirt floor either. Been so long since I last chuckled, I'm not sure my mouth can do it anymore. Can you tell me a story that'll make me laugh? Oh, my sides hurt. Choice? Most of us don't have many choices what we do. We don't have enough to give away. Anyway, know any good hopeful stories to share? I could sure use one. Thank you for sharing that one. I feel a little better now. Travel. When I left home, you couldn't walk anywhere without taking a big cloud of dust with you. All that just came right along on the journey. Anyway, I'm looking for a good laugh. Do you know any funny stories? Oh, come on. Freedom. People could have a good life if there weren't so many people that profit on need. The banks, the mortgages. It's having a debt that kills you. But anyway, do you know any good, exciting stories? Take my mind off this life of mine. Enjoyed that. You tell those exciting stories very well. I had trust. The way my mother raised me. Someone comes to your door, you give them a bite to eat and a place to sit down. Made me think the world was full of people who'd do that for you. But when the dust starts blowing off the ground, the hospitality goes away with it. I had to learn no one was going to do that for me, and I couldn't afford to do it for them either. After we'd been here a while, my husband wanted to go back to Oklahoma. But I knew there was nothing for us there anymore. I said I wasn't going back there to starve to death. So he took the girls and went without me. And now, I'm going my own way. Down the road this way, actually, to the next job, on and on and on. What about you? Where are you going? What are you leaving behind?
I say, you there!
Shouts the boy, sitting on the broken stairs of you attempt a solo foxtrot. From
los huesos de la tierra. Mis cocones entre el suelo. Que cuando la palabra regrese habrá mucho por ahí.
You walk along the tracks for an hour, toward the smell of the coal baking in the sun. After a while, the child takes a few steps back from the train and throws her
Voy a cargar mi pala en mi espalda agotada. Voy a guardar mi ruego entre mis suelas. Pues cuando mi llama llegue hasta abajo, ya mi tren se le acabe guiar. No va a haber nadie más que cabe mi hoyo.
You glance up, and the sky is suddenly filled with monarchs. Billions of them rising out of the fields and streaming across the road. You sit in the shade to watch them, and before you know it, the tree above you has a new coat of whispering orange leaves. They're resting, like you, gathering their strength for the next leg of the journey.
Que me entierro.
A weathered man unties a fishing boat from its mooring.
You heading out to fish? Can rent you a boat if you like. The lake's well stocked, but
He isn't smiling anymore.
there's a monster in the lake. Locals say it's the biggest trout ever to live. But they're wrong. It's not a fish. Something else.
Someone passes a beer into your hand. Waves of chatter wash over you as you listen to the fisherman's stories. Will's been chasing that fish for years now, man tells you.
I don't think he'll ever catch it. It's good fun to watch him try.
Eventually, the convivial chatter is broken by a huge splash. Willie floats in the middle of the lake, his boat upturned, his cap bobbing gently several feet away.
Almost had him that time.
He splutters through a mouthful of water.
Almost had him.
Your knees make a nasty cracking sound with every step. Wandering this infernal city of steep hills takes its toll.
You know anything about engine?
Asks a man, obscured by the raised triangular hood of the truck. You come around next to him. One glance tells you that there's nothing obviously wrong with the engine.
Ah, never mind.
He just slams down the hood of the truck, wisps of smoke leaking out of it. He sits on the edge of the truck bed.
Well, I can barely keep this running as it is. Wish I still had a farm.
He sighs theatrically.
My old man was, well, he was old. Guys like him didn't get a lot of chances to start a family.
He glances around the upwards parabola of the hill, at the placid row houses around you.
I was just a kid when it happened. The '06 quake. I can still remember. Barely.
The creature looms in an evergreen clearing, blood spattered around its maw, one enormous paw still buried in the flesh of the man sprawled beneath it. The grizzly spots you. Even at this distance, you can see its yellowed fangs. Slowly, deliberately, it begins to advance on you. A knot in the trunk gives you a handhold, and you haul yourself up to the safety of the branches. The grizzly circles your tree several times, but makes no move to climb it. Eventually satisfied you pose no threat, it wanders off. You are alone with the dead man. Beneath the terror of his final expression lurks surprise. The bear will return, or else the crows will take him. He belongs to the earth now. Bang! The screen door clangs in the wind. Downstairs, you hear low murmurs. The wind again? Or voices? You are sure this house was deserted. In the living room, two young women are entwined atop a sleeping bag. One has her hands tangled in the other's bright red hair.
I can't believe we found another haunted house.
The red-haired girl laughs. A floorboard creaks under your feet.
Is it a ghost?
The red-haired girl has jumped up between you and her companion, but relaxes her stance at your words.
Well, if you're talking, you probably aren't a ghost,
the blonde says. The red-haired girl looks to her, and then back towards you.
What are you doing here?
The other girl draws up straight.
We
Emphasizing the word.
are having an adventure.
The red-haired girl squeezes her hand. She turns back to her companion, her eyes shining. Your presence goes unnoticed as the two resume their hushed conversation. For hours now, you've seen it circling overhead. its wings cutting across the sliver of sky you can see framed by the crowns of vast redwoods. But it's gotten closer. The cry that echoed from afar now seems dangerously near. And suddenly, the eagle swoops down, claws splayed before it, wings spreading into a crescent of knife-sharp feathers. It dives at you like a bomber biplane, body contracting into a bullet racing groundward. You tell yourself you won't flinch. Something soft and incredibly fast brushes against your face. When you open your eyes, the eagle is climbing toward the sky already. A little forest mouse caught in one claw, wrinkled tail flapping in the wind. The Chinook salmon, having come to the end of its journey, is a grotesque beast. A great curved hump on its back, and that deformed hook of a jaw. The raven perched on it is unusually large, with a fat tuft of black feathers wrapped round its neck like a mane. With one practiced peck, it strikes at the salmon's blurred eye and pops it like a grape snapping open under your teeth. After tasting the fluid inside, it turns toward you, beady black eyes glinting in dying sunlight.
You want some? I can't eat this all by myself. Suit yourself.
It steadies itself on the carcass, and some of the uric smell wafts over to you.
Don't look a gift eyeball in the mouth's what I always say.
Its voice is throaty and rough, fittingly.
What are you here for? Not the salmon. People stories, huh?
It tries to preen a stray feather back into place, but it only ends up more crooked.
What's so great about people? You should collect raven stories. Much better. Well, this one's a secret.
It flaps its wings and flies towards you, perching on your shoulder.
You see, there once was this raven who liked to...
And then, instead of finishing his thought, he just snaps at your eye with that sharp needle of a beak. You flinch and close your eyes instinctively, losing your balance and taking an ungainly fall onto the soft sand of the riverbed.
Ah!
Cries the raven, once again perched on the dead salmon. Timber! You hear the splintering crack of old growth breaking. A tall, broad man looms in the clearing. He casts a shadow almost as long as the trees. A handful of other men gaze at him with admiration. A slate blue bull stands to the side, slowly chewing on a patch of grass.
God damn!
Shouts the second largest man, scratches his beard.
Come on, stranger, give it a shot. Try your arm against old Paul here.
He gestures to an axe lying atop a jagged stump. A couple laugh laughs flow through the crowd. You strike out at a reedy spruce. The axe thwacks into the trunk and roots there. You wrench it out and swing again. Your rhythm is shattered by wood splintering. Your opponent has just cut through two thick evergreens growing close together in one fluid movement. Thwack, thunk, thwack. The huge lumberjack is cutting a circle around you, barely stopping to let one tree fall before he strikes another. The bearded man shakes his head, watching with amusement. Another lumberjack claps him on the shoulder. At last, your tree falls. The bearded man steps forward and shakes your hand. Don't feel bad. No one can match him. I'm not even sure he's human. He looks at the woodcutter, now scratching the ox's ears. You gave it your best. That counts for something. A plank has been precariously raised as a tiny jetty over a creek, cutting its way through the woods.
It fell somewhere in here. Can't have gotten far.
Your eyes scan the bottom of the water. Look, you reach down into the water, gingerly grasping a narrow band of gold.
The ring's magical.
The young girl blurts out. The mother laughs, shaking the water from her hair. Fog fills the margins of redwoods, vanishing their high crowns. A strong musk, reminiscent of a gasoline spill, makes your eyes water. Behind distant sets of trees, a titanic silhouette lurches past. Broken lines of blood blotch the stranger's footprints. You come upon a maimed elk, whose sundered antlers have left behind patches of exposed tissue. The sediment-covered corpse seems to have been dragged some considerable distance. The silhouette of the stranger looms at the edge of visible forest. You feel the weight of their eyes upon you. The stranger watches, silent and unmoving, while you step backwards the way you came. Even after you've lost sight of their form, their glowing eyes hang in the fog. The inn is the only respite from the rain outside. Enormous trees dwarf even the largest buildings and homes here, and the inn is no exception. No one is behind the bar. The quiet of the night is broken by the sound of glass crashing into the floor. The cat pads silently into a darkened doorway, entering the back room of the inn. You light a match to see by in the darkness, but you still nearly trip on her. A woman, presumably the landlady, her eyes gone glassy and foggy. There are people shouting and laughing inside this restaurant. WPA, planting trees. He tells you about the hours he spends digging holes. His head sinks onto his chest.
Well, hey there. What's happening, stranger? Pull up a seat if you want to share. I guess my deal is pretty clear. You probably see 100 long-haired, bangle-wearing freaks on the road every day. We're the only ones still hitching around, I guess. Bummer. Because this is a beautiful place when you take the time to smell the flowers, huh? You know, I'd love to hear a really good, scary story. Man, that's really good. Good and scary, I mean. My past. Well, my parents didn't abuse me or anything. We just disagreed. We still do. I mean, I assume. So anyway, got any good ghost stories? Anything scary or weird? Oh, wow, that's scary stuff. You are really good at telling these. And luck. That's what got him. The lottery is how they decided. My brother was born December 12th, and that was his unlucky number. They spun that drum, and out came his whole life. Spilling out in that jungle. But anyway, what's the most exciting story you got? Oh, that's a totally wild story. It's a blast hearing you tell it. Freedom. Yeah, it's wonderful. The wind in your hair, the sun on your skin. Until you realize that now you're free to starve or sleep on the street or get followed by strange men. At least someone feeds you in a cage. So, you seen anything really hilarious out here? Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Joys I had. Well, I loved being a kid. Of course, I didn't know that at the time. Who does? I thought a scraped knee or ripped doll was the end of the world. But looking back, those were the days. So, got any good, hopeful stories? Anything about what the world should be? come on, don't be a drag. Yeah, free love. That's what it was all about. That's what filled my dreams as a teen. Why couldn't everyone see that we were all just here to love each other? Well, there it is. And I feel like I've been doing all the talking. But the sun's coming up soon, so I gotta get ready to go. Heard some interesting stuff about a group of folks getting by up this way. And where are you going? What's your deal, Seeker? What's the future hold for you?